The station lights flickered as the alarms fell silent. The war had ended only weeks ago, yet its shadow still hung heavy over the corridors of the medical wing. For the first time in months, the rooms were quiet. No soldiers screaming, no endless rush of wounded. Only the sound of machines humming softly in the background. Inside one of the recovery rooms, a man lay on a medical bed, his chest rising slowly, his face pale but calm. He was human, one of the last survivors from a lost squadron. He had been found drifting in space, his pod nearly destroyed, his vitals failing. No one expected him to live through the night. Yet he had survived. Standing at his side was an alien nurse, her long emerald-green fingers adjusting the scanner above him. Her name was Solara, and though she was trained to face any emergency, she still felt uneasy whenever she looked at the human. His presence was a reminder of everything the galaxy had just endured. Humans were fighters, fragile, reckless, but impossible to break. She had treated many species, but none were like this. Solara leaned closer, watching the monitor. The readings made little sense. His heart rate was stronger than it should have been. His blood carried traces of energy she had never seen before. She tilted her head, wondering if her instruments were wrong. Then the man stirred, his eyelids fluttering. Slowly, he opened his eyes. For a moment, silence filled the room. He looked at her, not with fear, but with confusion, as if he had woken in another world. Solara expected him to panic at the sight of her green skin, her sharp ears, her alien form. Instead, he only whispered, his voice dry and cracked. "Where am I?" Solara's training told her to answer calmly, to avoid startling him. "You are safe. You are in a medical station. You have been injured, but you are recovering." The man blinked, trying to focus. "Medical station? Not Earth?" "Not Earth," Solara replied softly. She hesitated, then added, "The war is over. You survived." The man closed his eyes again, as if trying to hold on to the words. Solara turned back to her instruments, pretending to be calm, though inside her mind was restless. This human should have been dead. No ordinary body could survive the damage his had suffered. Yet his vitals grew stronger by the hour. Days passed, and Solara remained his caretaker. She watched as his strength returned far faster than expected. He asked questions, some simple, some strange. He wanted to know about the war, about the station, about her people. But sometimes he asked about things that surprised her, why she had chosen medicine. Whether she believed peace could last. Whether she thought humans could ever be trusted again. One evening, as the dim golden lights of the station glowed against the walls, Solara was checking his bandages when she noticed something unusual. His muscles were knitting together faster than her scanners could track. His wounds, which should have taken weeks to heal, were nearly gone. She froze, staring at the data. "This is impossible," she whispered. The man raised an eyebrow. "What is it?" Solara looked at him, her large eyes uncertain. "Your body. It is repairing itself in ways I have never seen. No medicine I gave you could explain this." The human gave a faint smile, though his eyes carried something deeper, something that unsettled her. "Humans don't break easily. You'll learn that." His words sent a shiver through her. She had seen humans fight before, seen their ships burn and their soldiers fall. But this was different. This was something beyond willpower. Something she did not understand. Later that night, when Solara thought he was asleep, she sat quietly by the monitor, staring at his face. He looked peaceful, almost ordinary, yet every reading told her otherwise. It was as if his very cells carried a secret no alien had yet uncovered. Solara realized then that she was not simply healing a patient. She was witnessing something extraordinary, something that could change everything she thought she knew about humans. And though she was trained never to fear, she felt the weight of curiosity pressing hard against her chest. She could not believe what was happening before her eyes. The station's corridors grew quiet again after the passing shift. Solara remained in the medical room, still watching the human patient as he slept. Her reports to the chief physician were brief. The subject recovers at impossible speed. But every time she sent one, she hesitated before pressing confirm. The truth was stranger than her words could capture. The next morning, the human awoke earlier than she expected. His eyes were clearer now, his breathing steady. He turned his head slowly toward her, his gaze holding something sharp, almost searching. "You've been here the whole time?" he asked. Solara nodded. "It is my duty to monitor you." He gave a faint laugh. "Most nurses would leave the room when nothing's wrong. You don't trust me, do you?" Her lips tightened. She did not want to admit it, but it was true. Humans were unpredictable. Their species had fought with a fury unmatched by most in the galaxy. Even now, with the war ended, old fears clung to the air. "You are recovering too quickly," she said. "It is abnormal. Until I understand why, I cannot take risks." The man shifted slightly under the white sheet. His body was lean, built from battles and hardship, but now it seemed to grow stronger by the hour. "Maybe your people just underestimated humans," he said. Solara crossed her arms. "I do not underestimate. I measure. Your cells repair faster than any medicine should allow. This is not normal." The man studied her expression. "What's your name?" The question startled her. "Why does it matter?" "Because if you're saving my life, I should know who you are." Her eyes narrowed, but at last she answered. "Solara." He repeated it softly, as though testing the sound. "Solara, I'm Aaron." The names lingered between them, a fragile thread that neither had expected to form. Hours passed, and Solara recorded more data. The graphs climbed higher than they should. Aaron no longer looked like a broken soldier, but like someone untouched by war. When she asked how he felt, he only replied, "Stronger than before." That answer unsettled her most of all. Later that day, a visitor came. A senior officer in dark uniform entered the room, his sharp eyes moving quickly from Solara to the human. "How is he?" Solara bowed her head slightly. "Physically stable. In truth, better than stable." The officer frowned. "Explain." She showed him the data screens. The officer's brow furrowed deeper as he read the numbers. At last he muttered, "Typical. Humans never follow the rules of nature." He turned to Aaron. "Your squad is gone. You are the last. You should be grateful you lived." Aaron's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. His eyes, however, burned with something Solara could not mistake: pain mixed with defiance. When the officer left, the silence between them grew heavy. Solara felt something stir inside her chest. She had seen soldiers collapse into despair after such news, yet Aaron did not. Instead, he sat up slowly, ignoring her protests, and stared at the wall as though making a silent promise. "You shouldn't move yet," Solara said firmly. "I can't just lie here," he replied. "If I'm the last, then I carry all of them inside me. I can't waste that." His words pressed against her heart like an unseen weight. This was the difference she was beginning to see. Most species sought peace, comfort, safety. Humans, they sought to endure, no matter the cost. That night, Solara ran another test, this time in secret. She drew a small sample of his blood, placed it under the scanner, and held her breath. The results confirmed her fears. His blood carried strange markers, resilient threads of energy that resisted decay, that adapted faster than her instruments could track. It was not technology, not medicine, not anything her people understood. It was human. Solara leaned back, her hands trembling slightly. She had been trained to heal, not to fear. But what she saw in Aaron was more than survival. It was something the galaxy had never been ready to face. The next morning, Aaron caught her staring. "You look like you've seen a ghost." Solara tried to hide her unease. You should not even be alive. Yet you heal as if death has no hold on you. Aaron gave a tired smile. That's humanity's secret. We're too stubborn to die when we're supposed to. Solara said nothing. But in her heart, she wondered if this stubbornness was not only survival, but something far greater and far more dangerous. The hum of the medical station carried through the night. Solara sat quietly at her console, reviewing Aaron's latest test results. Every line of data confirmed the same impossible truth. His body was adapting, growing, evolving faster than any species she had studied. If she reported this fully, the council would demand to see him. They would not view him as a patient anymore. They would see him as a weapon. Her hands hesitated over the keys. She chose silence. Across the room, Aaron stirred, his eyes opening. He looked at her with quiet intensity. You're hiding something. Solara froze. What do you mean? You keep staring at me like I'm some kind of puzzle. And you don't send all the data. I may be injured, but I'm not blind. She turned to face him, her emerald face calm though her chest felt tight. You are correct. There are anomalies. Your blood carries properties I cannot explain. If the council knew, they would take you from this room. You would not be treated as a patient anymore. Aaron was silent for a moment. Then he gave a weary smile. So you're protecting me. Solara's throat tightened. She had not thought of it that way, but his words were true. I am protecting knowledge, she said. What you are may change how the galaxy sees your kind. That is dangerous. Aaron leaned back slowly, his eyes never leaving hers. You risk a lot by keeping me here. Why? She opened her mouth, then closed it. No training manual had prepared her for this. At last she answered, because I do not want them to fear you more than they already do. For the first time, Aaron's smile was genuine. It softened the sharpness of his face, and Solara felt something she had not expected, trust beginning to grow between them. The following day, everything changed. The station lights dimmed suddenly, followed by a violent tremor. Solara's hands gripped the edge of the console as the walls shook. A red alarm blared through the room. Breach detected. Section 12 compromised. Aaron tried to rise, but Solara rushed to his side. You must stay down. He shook his head. Something's wrong. I can feel it. She stared at him in disbelief. You feel it? Aaron nodded. Like pressure. Like danger is getting closer. Before she could question him further, the door burst open. 2 guards entered, their weapons raised. Nurse Solara, step aside. We are evacuating high-value patients. But before they could reach Aaron, another explosion rocked the corridor. The lights cut out. In the darkness, strange shapes moved, intruders, not of her people, not human. Raiders from the outer rim. Solara's heart raced. How had they breached so deep into the medical wing? The guards opened fire, their weapons flashing bright in the dark. Solara ducked low, covering her head. She heard shouts, the sound of metal clashing, and then silence. When she looked up, both guards were down, and the intruders advanced. Aaron was no longer lying still. Somehow in the chaos he had risen from the bed, his body moving with strength no patient should have had. Solara gasped. You cannot. But Aaron was already in motion. One of the raiders lunged at him with a blade, but Aaron caught the weapon with his bare hand, twisting it free as if he had been fighting his whole life. His movements were too fast, too precise. His body, only days ago broken and fragile, now fought with the fury of a soldier reborn. Solara watched in shock as he struck the attackers down one by one. His wounds, once deep, did not slow him. His muscles moved like iron, his breath steady, his eyes sharp. Within moments, the intruders lay motionless on the floor. The room fell into silence again, broken only by the sound of Aaron's breathing. He turned toward her, his chest rising and falling. Solara's wide eyes locked onto him. You should not be able to stand. You should not be able to fight like this." Aaron dropped the weapon, his hand trembling slightly. "I don't know how, but I feel stronger than before. Stronger than I ever was." Solara's heart pounded. She realized she had just witnessed something impossible. A human who healed too quickly was already strange. But a human who could rise from near death to defeat trained raiders? That was more than strange. That was dangerous. She stepped closer, her voice low, almost fearful. "Aaron, what are you becoming?" He met her eyes, his voice quiet but steady. Maybe what humanity was always meant to be. The medical wing smelled of smoke and burning. Metal. Solara stood frozen in the middle of the room, staring at the fallen raiders. Their bodies lay scattered across the floor, and at the center stood Aaron, breathing heavily but unshaken. His wounds had opened slightly, blood staining the edges of the bandages, yet he stood tall, stronger than any soldier she had treated. The door hissed open again, and a squad of station guards rushed inside. Their weapons locked onto Aaron immediately. "Step away from him, nurse." One shouted. Solara spread her arms instinctively. "Wait, he is not the enemy." But their eyes did not soften. They had seen the same thing she had. No normal patient could fight like that. To them, Aaron was no longer a survivor. He was a threat. The chief officer entered behind them, his expression grim. He looked from the bodies of the intruders to Aaron standing in the center. "Contain him," he ordered. Solara's heart pounded. "No, he saved us. If not for him, we would be dead." The officer's gaze hardened. Or perhaps this was no accident. Perhaps the raiders came for him. Either way, he cannot be allowed to walk free. Two guards stepped forward, raising restraints. Aaron lifted his hands slowly, his jaw tight. He did not resist, but his eyes burned with quiet anger. Solara wanted to speak, to stop them, but the officer silenced her with a glance. Aaron was taken from the room and placed into confinement. Solara followed, arguing at every step, but her words meant nothing. The council had already been alerted. They would decide his fate. That night, Solara sat outside the holding chamber, staring through the glass at Aaron. He sat on the bench inside, his head bowed, but when he looked up, his eyes met hers. There was no fear in them. Only resolve. "You should not be here," he said softly, his voice muffled by the glass. "You should not be in there," she replied. Aaron's lips curved into a faint smile. "You're the only one who believes that." Solara pressed her hand against the glass. "I saw you fight. I saw how fast you healed. I do not understand it, but I know this. You are not a weapon. You are more." Aaron leaned closer, his voice dropping. "And that's exactly what they fear. Humans who survive too much. Humans who rise again when they should be gone. We remind the galaxy of things it wants to forget." Her chest tightened. He was right. The war had ended, but scars remained. The council wanted peace, and peace required control. A human like Aaron could shatter that control. The next day, Solara was summoned before the council. High-ranking officials sat in a semicircle, their faces cold and watchful. They questioned her for hours about the incident, about Aaron's recovery, about the impossible readings. Every word she spoke felt like a test. She told them only part of the truth, enough to protect him. At last, one council member leaned forward. "Nurse Solara, you claim the human saved you. But can you guarantee he is not dangerous to all of us?" Solara hesitated, then answered firmly. "I cannot guarantee what he will do. But I can guarantee what I saw. He fought to protect, not to destroy." The council whispered among themselves, their expressions unreadable. Finally, the chief officer spoke. "We will not risk the safety of this station. The human will remain under observation. If his condition worsens, or if he shows further anomalies, he will be transferred to the central labs for study." Solara's blood ran cold. She knew what study meant. Once they took him, he would never return. When she told Aaron the decision, he only nodded. I figured as much. To them, I'm not a man. I'm a mystery they want to lock away. Solara's voice trembled. I do not want them to take you. He looked at her with calm eyes. Then help me. If they move me, I won't survive it. Not because my body will fail, but because they'll cut me apart trying to understand me. Her mind swirled with fear. To defy the council was unthinkable. But to let Aaron be taken meant betraying everything she had felt since meeting him. She had sworn an oath to heal, not to hand lives over to cruelty. That evening, as the station lights dimmed for rest cycle, Solara stood outside the holding chamber again. Aaron sat inside, watching her. She tapped a hidden sequence into the panel. The glass door slid open with a hiss. Aaron's eyes widened. Solara. Quiet. She whispered. We do not have much time. He stepped out, his movements careful, his body already recovering from the earlier fight. She guided him through the quiet corridors, avoiding patrols, her heart racing with every step. At last, they reached a maintenance hatch that led to the lower decks. Solara opened it, her hands trembling. Go. If you stay, they will destroy you. Aaron looked at her, his voice steady. And what about you? She met his gaze, her chest heavy. I will find a way. But right now, humanity's secret cannot end in a lab. For a moment, neither moved. Then Aaron placed his hand over hers, warm and strong. You're braver than you think, Solara. And with that, he slipped into the shadows below, leaving her standing in the dim light, torn between duty and something far deeper. Asterisk. The lower decks of the station were silent and dim. Pipes hissed softly in the shadows, and the air smelled of oil and metal. Aaron moved quickly, his body stronger than he had ever known, though his steps were careful. He had lived through battles. But this was different. He was not only fighting for his life, now he was fighting for his right to exist. Solara watched from above, hidden behind the access panel as he disappeared into the maintenance tunnels. Her heart beat fast, torn between fear of discovery and the strange warmth growing inside her. She had betrayed the council, her oath, and perhaps her people. Yet she knew she had done the only thing she could. Moments later, the alarm sounded again. Guards were sweeping the corridors, voices echoing through the halls. The human has escaped. Lock down all sections. Solara forced herself to walk calmly back to the medical wing, her face cold and expressionless. No one questioned her yet, but she knew suspicion would soon turn toward her. Meanwhile, Aaron moved deeper into the maze of pipes and vents. His senses felt sharper than ever, as though his body knew danger before his mind did. He ducked into shadows just as patrols passed by, his breathing steady despite the chase. Somewhere inside him, a quiet voice whispered that this was no longer just about survival. Something was changing. Something was awakening. At the far end of the station, Solara received a secret transmission on her console. The message was short, only coordinates and a single word. Help. Her eyes widened. Aaron had found a way to send her a signal. He wanted her to come. She left her post under the excuse of transferring medical supplies. Every step down the darkened corridors made her fear discovery, but she pushed forward. At last she reached the abandoned cargo bay where Aaron waited. He was standing near a broken shuttle frame, his eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. Solara stopped in shock. Aaron, your eyes. He touched his face, confused. What about them? They are brighter, almost alive with energy. Aaron frowned. I feel it too. Like something inside me is pushing harder every moment. I don't understand it, Solara. But I think this is what your council fears. Solara moved closer, lowering her voice. If they see you like this, they will never let you live free. They will not only call you dangerous, they will call you a weapon of war. Aaron shook his head. I didn't ask for this. But maybe this is why I survived when the others didn't. Maybe humanity carries something your people don't understand. Yet, before Solara could answer, heavy footsteps echoed through the bay. Dozens of armed guards marched in, their weapons raised. The chief officer's voice rang out. "Human, you will surrender immediately. Nurse Solara, step away." Solara froze, but Aaron stepped forward, his shoulders straight. "If you want me, you'll have to try harder than before." The guards fired. Beams of energy cut through the air, striking Aaron's chest and arms. Solara screamed, certain he would fall, but he didn't. The bolts burned against his skin, but instead of tearing him apart, the energy spread across him like light on water. His body absorbed it, twisted it, and threw it off in glowing sparks. Aaron's voice was steady as he advanced. "You can't break me." With movements faster than her eyes could follow, he disarmed the first guard, then the next. Weapons clattered to the floor as soldiers fell back in panic. The chief officer shouted orders, but fear spread through the ranks. This was no ordinary man. This was something new. Solara's breath caught as she watched him fight. His body was no longer just strong, it was unstoppable. Every strike, every movement carried the weight of something beyond human will, something woven deep into his very blood. At last, the surviving guards retreated, dragging the officer with them. The bay fell silent again, save for the sound of Aaron's breathing. He looked at Solara, his chest rising and falling, his eyes still glowing faintly. "They'll come again," she whispered. "This time with more. They won't stop." Aaron nodded. "Then neither can we." Solara felt a strange mix of fear and awe. She had sworn to save lives, yet here she was, standing beside someone who might change the fate of entire worlds. She stepped closer, her voice trembling but steady. "If you truly are what I think you are, then I cannot let them take you. I will help you escape this station, no matter the cost." Aaron's hand brushed against hers, warm and steady. "Then we do this together." For the first time since the war had ended, Solara felt something new stirring inside her chest. Not just duty, not just fear, but hope. The station was no longer safe. Solara knew it, and so did Aaron. Alarms howled across every corridor, red lights flashing in warning. The council had declared full lockdown. Every guard, every drone, every system was hunting them. Solara guided Aaron through the maintenance shafts, her hands shaking as she worked the panels. Aaron moved with silent focus, his body now fully alive with the strange strength that terrified the council. He no longer looked like a wounded soldier, he looked like something reborn. Reached a hangar bay, sealed off by blast doors. Solara tapped at the console, her fingers flying. Sparks jumped as she overrode the locks. The door slid open just enough to reveal a small patrol shuttle inside. Aaron glanced at her. "You're sure about this?" Her throat tightened, but she nodded. "If you stay here, they will destroy you. If you leave, maybe you can prove that humanity is not what they fear." Aaron placed a hand on her shoulder. "And what about you? If they find out you helped me, they'll punish you." Solara met his gaze, her emerald eyes glowing softly in the dim light. "Then let them. I would rather stand beside truth than hide behind fear." Before either could move, the sound of heavy boots filled the hangar. Dozens of soldiers poured in, weapons raised. At their head stood the chief officer, his voice sharp. "This ends now, human. You cannot leave." "Nurse Solara, you are under arrest for treason." Aaron stepped forward, his body tense, his eyes bright with the strange light that had begun to live within him. "I don't want to fight you, but I won't let you cage me." The soldiers opened fire. Beams of energy filled the air, striking Aaron's chest and shoulders. Solara cried out, but once again, the light inside him absorbed the blasts. His body glowed brighter, each strike feeding him instead of breaking him. Aaron surged forward, moving like a storm. He tore through their ranks, not killing, but disarming and disabling. Every strike was controlled, every motion precise. The soldiers fell back, overwhelmed by something they could not understand. Solara watched in awe. This was more than healing, more than strength. This was the essence of humanity: defiance, survival, the refusal to bow even when the universe demanded. At last, the chief officer stood alone, his weapon trembling in his hands. Aaron walked toward him slowly, his voice calm. "You see it now, you can't cage what you don't understand. Humanity isn't broken, we endure." The officer dropped his weapon, fear etched into his face. Aaron turned back to Solara. "The shuttle, let's go." Together they ran to the craft. Solara slid into the pilot's seat, her fingers moving across unfamiliar controls. Aaron took the co-pilot's chair, his hands steady. The engines roared to life. Outside, more soldiers rushed into the hangar, but it was too late. The shuttle blasted upward, tearing free of the docking clamps and soaring into the void of space. Stars spread out before them, endless and brilliant. Solara's breath shook as she gripped the controls. "We're free for now." Aaron leaned back, his body glowing faintly in the starlight. Not just free, alive, and that's what matters. Solara looked at him, her voice soft. "What will you do now?" He turned his eyes to the stars, his jaw firm. "Find the others. If I survived like this, maybe more did. And if not, then I'll carry the memory of all of them. Humanity has a place in this galaxy, Solara. And I think you're the first to truly see it." Her chest tightened at his words. She had begun as his caretaker, his healer. But now she was more than that. She had seen the truth behind the human spirit, the impossible strength that no wound, no war, no council could erase. The shuttle drifted into the dark, engines glowing softly against the void. For the first time in years, Solara felt hope, not only for herself, but for the galaxy. Humanity was not finished. Humanity was rising, and beside them, in the quiet hum of the ship, the future waited.